LMGs. Let's talk about this topic right now. LMGs. It looks like DICE is thinking about changing the way the LMGs function. Now, in this post here from Battlefield Bulletin, the things that they're trying to look into, the LMGs. Oh no, they said this in a. I mean, they also said this in a interview, like a DICE dev talk, and the guy in yellow was talking about this. It was like, yeah, LMGs just pretty much feel like ARs with big magazines, and I hear this from everybody. I mean, that's just straight up the truth, right? Especially with the new Advances weapon. I mean, there's like barely any recoil to it, barely any character. It's just a laser rifle with a big magazine. What do you think they're gonna do to the LMGs? Just straight up, Lemonade. What do you think? Are they gonna just increase recoil, like give it more character?
Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't even know.
Yeah, can you actually read those points? I didn't see this post, and it's kind of blurry on here, just so I can. Or yeah,
Just
zoom in.
zooming on
Okay,
that.
yeah,
There we go.
perfect. All right, so and I feel like ARs are big. Must not feel like ARs. Okay. Oh, that's the only point, and then just to fix the advance.
The weapon categories make them more distinctive.
They said they're
I
going
mean,
to
I
split
think.
up jets and helicopters. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think, yeah, I mean, I agree with everyone. I think they just feel like a better choice to ARs in most situations. I mean, there is that lead up time that you have with LMGs. So, I mean, if you're a heavy pusher, like I mean, a lot of the people like on the show that you brought on are, it's not really the most optimal option because if you're pushing into objectives, you have that little delay from, sprint to ADS and that does fuck with you a lot. So, I don't know. They could just increase that and then obviously work the recoil. I don't know, or just damage. Well, not damage off pop, but yeah, just increase the recoil, or maybe just increase the time to ADS or something like that. So they're just less of an option to push with and more of a support suppressive fire, medium to long range option.
Yeah, there's a lot of hot takes going on because of this. A little blurb that they had in the meeting. People are like, "Yo, you know what's going to really distinctive difference? Bipod only." The people are coming up with the Battlefield 5 mechanics for LMGs to separate them from ARs. I'm like, stop! Don't listen to these people. Nobody enjoyed that unless you guys did. Did you enjoy that? I mean, I never asked.
I haven't used any of the LMGs. I mean, I think briefly, you could only use them in a bipod?
We're talking about the MMGs, the medium machine guns, the ones that you
the
had.
medium machine guns,
They were super strong, but you had to be prone for them for their accuracy to be good.
People are thinking about that, bringing that back.
Super high rate of fire. No, I don't agree with that.
No. Yeah,
I think.
I haven't used it.
God,
it's not enjoyable, but
I think it's okay with if you have some recoil control. I think this is going to be a hot take here. I think LMGs, especially if they have more than 100 rounds, should be, if you're standing with them, they should have okay accuracy, but far higher recoil. Like you really should have to truck that mouse button down in order to really use it when you're standing and scoped. I think personally the way that it should work is if you're crouched or whatever, it should have a cone of fire that spreads rapidly, meaning you're forced to burst the thing, and then when you're prone, that cone of fire takes far longer to expand and has so you can have longer duration bursts at range and so there's an incentive to play prone with them, but you don't have to, I guess. There really isn't. There's so many different ways you can try to fix this. I just don't want to see it either over nerfed or under nerfed one way or the other.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was thinking about that cone, but like in 2142, where the more you fire it, the smaller the cone gets. Kind of like opposite.
Very unique. Yeah, I think that is a good way to do it.
Yeah, they did that in BF1. But, and then I'm not even sure if that's how that works in this game. I don't think it does.
No, this is definitely not, because the crosshair definitely constricts to a certain point the longer you fire the weapon, even if you're standing. In a game with 128
rewarding
players,
the recoil control.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah, rewarding holding mouse 1.
No other weapon type did that.
No.
in that game. That was the only one that did that. So that kind of like made it stand out. Made it different. So I was thinking they should just do the same for this.
That's
Yeah.
unique. It's definitely an option. I don't disagree. But at least throw it in there. At least maybe even one gun. But I suppose it's not like this is not a one gun thing. You have to do it for them all.
Yeah. Lemonade, did you try the M60 yet?
No, I haven't. Yeah.
What about you, Gravity?
Oh yeah, I've
The
used the
M60?
M60. I think that they said there's a statement about that, how they're gonna try to fix it, how it shoots too slowly, the rate of fire is too slow. But it's here's the hot take on the M60 is that it doesn't belong in 2042, just because every gun in the game has a super high rate of fire, whereas the M60 should shoot like you're shooting a semi. It's a heavy hitting bullet that shoots at a slow rate of fire, and it just doesn't feel like it's gonna work in the game.
Yeah, that's the problem with LMGs in a lot of. I don't know. I mean, it's just it's like they always want to make them more and more or closer and closer to the AR, and I don't
That's
know, just
where
watering
we
down the
are.
whole category. Yeah, I mean, it's then yeah, why use it? I don't know, and especially I think most Battlefield players play a little bit more passively. So yeah, I mean, LMGs are super effective for a person that's kind of hanging back a little bit, taking the approach more slowly, and there's not much you could do. I mean, there's been plenty of times where you just get kind of pinned down because you got 3 or 4 guys shooting you with LMGs, and it just never ends. I mean, you can't peek, you can't flank. I mean, 200 rounds, it's just not stopping.
I mean, ideally, that's the role that they should have. Is they should be able to keep you suppressed behind cover for a while, but at the same time, what you don't want is you don't want those guns to be laser beams, right? You want them to have very wild recoil patterns and very wild cones of fire, so that even if you did make the attempt to move from one cover to the other, there's not like a guarantee it could hit you unless you're really in its face.
Yeah, that's why the Advances is such a big problem right now. It's why it's one of the best weapons, is simply because it doesn't have much character to it. It's a 3D printed assault rifle, apparently, with very to little no recoil. And you run into the same problem the play testers did back in Battlefield 1 before releasing the, what was it, the IMG, I believe? I think it was called, and it had no recoil at all in the playtest. And they're like, whoa! This new LMG here, we cannot have it be this good, right? And then when the general public got it, the recoil was insane. I mean, it was the funniest thing ever, Lemonade. I don't know if you remember playing that, but the IMG would just bounce everywhere you when you started firing. It was so like cartoony looking, just to balance it out. And then later on they kind of refined it. But like little examples like that is just it's eye opening. It's like I'm kind of scared. That's why I brought up the topic of what they're gonna do to the LMGs. I'm scared because I don't know what the hell this team's gonna do with them to change them. I think they're just gonna make them unusable. Really.
You know, it's funny. It's kind of ironic that now that talking about the M60 actually brought back a old Battlefield memory. Not sure if anybody's gone back to play Battlefield Vietnam. When the original, when it launched in 2004, the game had the M60 in that game too. The game launched with the M60 not having any recoil pattern whatsoever, and every it was a 100-round laser beam with 0 recoil. So everyone in the game was using it, and it was and you actually had it as the secondary. You had the class that you had to pick it with actually came with a noob tube with grenade launcher that was super overpowered too. So it was like this noob tube, laser beam, it kind of worked the same way. And it took them a month to actually patch it, and it's just kind of ironic that we're still talking about the M60 today, but they kind of did the same thing. They upped the recoil significantly when you were standing. They added the cone of fire, so you really had to burst when you were crouched and mostly play prone with it. And honestly, that's a solid fix of how most LMGs should play. As long as it's, I would say that the difference, there should be a different style of LMG play. If it's like 50 rounds and under, it's easier. You should have a lower recoil pattern, a lower cone of fire, versus if you're having 100 bullets or more and you could be much more devastating, then you should be forced to play more crouch prone bipoded.
I shared a video link with you guys of, I don't know. I've never played Vietnam. It was the only Battlefield game I think I never played. And
God,
dude, this is old school like footage here. I'm not sure. This looks like after the fix you were talking about.
This has had to be after the fix. I don't think any footage exists for the. Let me look at this real quick. Yeah.
But this is kind of like what Battlefield 5's MMG mechanic was like, where you can aim down a little bit, but you don't aim down the sights, and you're kind of just like spraying, praying, kind of like I'm watching around the 2-minute mark right here, for that.
Yeah, and there's your noob tube.
And
Yes.
and there's a noob tube. Yeah. Dude, Vietnam is wild. Dude, the color schemes.
Vietnam was fun.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I have never seen this before.
No, either. I haven't seen any footage of Vietnam.
Oh, I was mistaken. When the game launched, it didn't come with the grenade launcher. That was post patch. When it launched, it came with the M60 came with the Law. It was like a shoulder mounted MBT Law rocket launcher, and that like one shot all infantry. So so they got rid of the launcher and they put the grenade launcher in, which is just as stupid effective.
See, yeah, look at this. Now I'm not sure how did the bipod work on this Gravity? Did you just
there's no bipod that deploys. It's simply when you're prone, you just the recoil pattern is you're
happens.
Yeah.
How odd. I mean, but this is very much BF5. This is just how it worked. But if you're next to that sandbag, it would deploy.
Yeah. Obviously, when you're crouched and there's a sandbag there, that mechanic didn't exist in Vietnam. What you're seeing here is he's standing and or crouched, and you can just see the recoil pattern just go wild if he's crouched or standing.
Yeah.
If he was prone, the recoil pattern would be so much better for that thing.
Look at the ammo box too.
Yeah. The old 1942 BF Vietnam style. Yeah. Ammo crates and med crates. Yeah, there was no medic class in Battlefield Vietnam, and the only you had med crates on flags just like there was in 1942. But weirdly enough, on 2 maps and 2 maps alone, the U.S. side had a kit.
Oh yeah, look at that.
A med kit. Yeah, which was weird because only one team would have a med kit. It was weird.
I kind of like that in BF5. I haven't played that now. Like having those ammo and medical crates just laying around.
I do too. I think that it's a great idea. What I didn't like is the attrition system. I think there's a methodology that you could easily have ammo and med crates in a Battlefield game without having attrition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
We got to do a whole Battlefield show just on like old ass Battlefield games.
Dude, I'm game. That's my wheelhouse. Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude! This is fascinating.
Twitter and say this is what we should do for the LMGs. Make the Avanti like this.
Make the advances like this. Yeah, I'm sure people will love that.
No, I think I mean, I like Revi's idea on it. Yeah, I mean, that would be interesting to see how players actually take up to using that, and would they?
Yeah,
I think
people would hate because the way it is now.
It's weird. I think like as games have developed, and maybe this is also an issue for the developers. Maybe like player expectation of certain guns, just not just in Battlefield, but just in general, is that they should be usable in every situation, even in LMG, and like in these older games, and you can say this is more of a milsim than obviously 2042 is in a sense. And Battlefield obviously was more focused on like team play and squad play a lot more than it is nowadays. I guess maybe the mindset of player was maybe a bit different. Like, yeah, I'm gonna post up here and like get this little spot and try to sit back a little bit and suppress fire down here. And I think just with modern gaming, people just want to run and gun, and they even like you look at Apex, even in those games. I mean, some of the best guns are the LMGs too, because you could just be so aggressive with it. And I think like if you make it like this, then it's a big turnoff for a lot of people. Or
absolutely
mechanics.
And that's one of those weird things that people don't realize is that any of the refractor engine Battlefield games, and Julian can confirm this at least with 2122, is the style of gameplay in those older Battlefields was so much slower than any of the modern ones, BF3 onward. Yeah, it was a much slower, much more conservative game. And
that rewards kind of a like play, right? If you're a LMG player or MMG player, and the round is moving slower, the movement of the troops on the map is moving slower. It rewards you to say, I'm gonna sit here in this one spot and kind of just hide behind some sandbags or prone. In 2042, it's all over the place, especially with the verticality. I mean, it's almost like you're sitting duck if you decide to post up with something for too long. You're dead.
Yeah, and that wasn't. I mean, this game to give some clarification here, since we're only seeing an M60 and M79, we have to consider the fact that not all weapons in this game were like this. The majority of the assault rifles were like laser beams. They had very little recoil, very little cone of fire. This game actually had Vietnam, of any of the Refractor Engine games, had the best hit reg and netcode out of any of them. And for some reason, the transition from Vietnam to VF2 was so horrible, and VF2 had such terrible netcode and hit reg. But Vietnam was a weird outlier that, at least with the ARs, it had to do with the bullet velocity was really, really high, and the actual player model health was actually very low. So you can get domed across the map very easily in Vietnam. It was very, very, very high risk, high reward play.
That guy got wrecked.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah, that cone of fire is really small there when he stayed completely still. This is funny to watch.
Yeah, definitely have a whole episode here on past Battlefield games for sure.
Yeah, I love that. All right, man. Well, that's pretty much.
If you're gonna do that, highly recommend. I mean, obviously you're pretty much bringing all the DZ boys. Hit up Kinetic. That guy. I mean, I'll give him credit. He knows a lot about these older
Kinetic,
games.
I was just thinking that about how he's been around for a long time as well.
Yeah, he really knows his stuff. He spoke highly about you too, Gravity. I mean, he's one of the. He said you're one of the few that he actually respects because you've actually played and know what you're talking about on these old titles, and he loves the Refractor games. I never tried any of them really, so he gives them a lot of credit. Those older ones, yeah.
I would love to, probably next episode. We're probably gonna have Kinetic on and give have a good time down memory lane here and all these cool Battlefield games. It'll be really fun to do that for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much it for overtime. Thank you again, Lemonade, for coming on and chatting about all these cool topics. We'd love to have you back in the future. Thank you so much. And again, I think that's where we could just wrap it up there.
Yeah, appreciate it. Pleasure being on, guys. It was a lot of fun.